Hello, and welcome to Frankenstein week. This week is a very special week because I have finangled tickets to see Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein in the cinema. It is today, October 13th, and I am seeing it tonight, and I'm so excited. This has to be, apart from Wicked, the movie of the year for me. So I thought, let's celebrate by reading tons of books about Frankenstein and his creator, Mary Shelley. I have 5 books across various genres, most of them historical fiction, but I do have a kind of horror by Marcus Sedgewick, and it's The Monsters We Deserve. And this is about a young man who has gone to a remote cabin in the woods, and he seems to be haunted by Mary Shelley and her creature. So this one is, I think I read this a few years ago, but I didn't really take it in. I didn't really understand the impact that this book could have on me. So we're rereading this, very excited. Then I have Emma Carroll's Strange Star, and this is a children's historical fiction about a young character called Felix, who is a servant boy in the villa at Lake Geneva, where Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley, they're there, worst summer in the world, 1816, and Lord Byron comes up with the idea of them all writing a scary story to spook them out. And this is about, from the aspect of Felix, who discovers a strange girl on the doorstep. So there is that one. Then we have Mary, or The Birth of Frankenstein. This is one I have been waiting to read for ages. I've just put it off because I think I'm scared my expectations won't be met. I have no evidence to support that theory. I'm just a little bit nervous. This is basically set at Lake Geneva, so it's following Mary at Lake Geneva, 1816. She is coming up with the idea of Frankenstein, but it also kind of flashes back to her childhood in Scotland, where she falls in love with her friend who is also a girl. So it's kind of more Mary rather than Frankenstein for that one. I also have this relatively new book, Love, Sex and Frankenstein by Caroline Lee. I believe this is, yep, this follows Mary Shelley as she leaves London with Percy, with her stepsister Claire, who is a little bit of a weirdo in my opinion, and they go to Lord Byron's villa in Lake Geneva. Again, the story of Frankenstein being created, but this is obviously a little bit more risque than the others. It's been blurbed by Elizabeth Fremantle, who I love. I've got several of her books, but she says this is no glamorous story of the rock star poets and their female muses, but a rendition of Mary Shelley's absolute powerlessness turned around through sheer force of will. Very excited. And then I have a proof copy that was sent to me by Black and White Publishing, Bonnier Books, and it is called Poor Creatures by Mary Kidd, and this is about Mary Shelley when she is at Scotland. So she was sent to Scotland to hang out with a friend, and it kind of gives the impression that the idea of Frankenstein was first formed in her visit to Scotland with her friend Isabel in 1812 in Dundee. So kind of that kind of progression. I mean, I've read her TBR, Mary Shelley's, the books that she read before or during writing Frankenstein, and I can see how those ideas would have progressed into her own writing, as well as the history and the times that she's living through. Like alchemy is giving way to science, we're getting electricity to galvanize human bodies and possibly even to restart hearts, anatomists stealing bodies from graveyards. So yeah, this is going to be a really interesting read. So that's my TBR for the week. I am going to be at work, so I generally only have 3 proper days of reading, because I'm at work tomorrow. It's a late, so I don't finish until 8:15. Friday is an early, so I might get some reading in then. Saturdays are late, again 8:15 finish. So I only really have Wednesday, Thursday and Sunday this week, but we'll see what I can get through, and I'm going to take you along with me. Okay, I will divulge more later, but this is my immediate thoughts of the Frankenstein movie. Just came back from the cinema. Fuck me. Oh, that was so good. I cried. That was so good. Oh my god. Oh my god. I need to watch it again immediately. Not until my birthday though, so you have to deal with that. Well done, Del Toro. Well done. That was so good. I look like some kind of bedraggled swamp witch. So I have dyed my hair, so it's a little bit more red. Regardless, I typed up my notes for Frankenstein the movie, and it was nearly 2,000 words long. All that to say is I basically talked about the production, so the sets, the costumes, the makeup, the props, the colour red. Sorry, I'm reading from my notes. I also kind of reviewed the acting. So Oscar Isaac's obviously impeccable. Jacob Elordi, who knew? Oh my god, the physicality that he obviously practiced in, like, oh, anyway. Mia Goth, queen. Also having her play Victor Frankenstein's mother and then Elizabeth, his love interest, with the colour red. Oh, it circled. It was fantastic. And the idea of generational trauma being passed down from Frankenstein's father to Victor himself, and then Victor to the creature. I will say the CGI felt a little bit overused. You didn't really need CGI mice. But, I mean, if Jacob Elordi is scared of mice, then maybe that's the way forward. But I just felt in certain places it was unnecessary. It felt like a mixture of the original text by Mary Shelley and then kind of a homage to the other versions of Frankenstein that have been on screen. But it was incredibly close to the text, and it was in parts as well. So first part was Victor telling his story, second part was the creature, and then obviously the third part is when we come together on the ship, and it's absolutely wow. I will say I mean, obviously my notes are I'm not very articulate unless it's on the page. So, I mean, you can see my notes. I've posted it on my Substack, which is in my link tree if you want to have a gander. But it was just fantastic. They also used quotes from the book, which was fantastic. The costume, I will just say, Elizabeth's wedding dress had ribbons wrapped around her arms as like a homage to the Bride of Frankenstein. And the use of spines and highlighting the spine. Oh, maybe needed more blood when Victor is creating the monster, but that's just for my grotesque feelings. It was gruesome as hell. So if you're a normal person, it might be enough gore and blood for you, but I could have used some more. But apart from that, and obviously one of my autistic special interests is syphilis, and we had a nod to syphilis. So fantastic. Overall 10 out of 10. I want a film poster to put up. I want everything. If they made a popcorn bucket, I would have had it. You know, this is the kind of movie that I'm going to buy anything and everything that kind of encompasses Frankenstein. 10 out of 10. I cried. Me and the elusive brother. We're going to London next week, which I will include in this. So it's going to be a little bit longer than a week, so I might change the thumbnail. We're going to Selfridge's because they have an exhibition of the props and the costumes and everything from the film, and I'm so excited, and it's free. So yeah, oh my god, happy birthday to me, what a year. You can read my full thoughts, which are much more articulate and intelligent, on my Substack. So there is that. Closing the Paper Republic, I have read one of the TBR books already, and that is The Monsters We Deserve by Marcus Sedgewick. Started off very slow, I will say that, but when we get into it and kind of meet the characters and everything, it kind of snowballs. Forgive the pun. He's in snowy mountains. But yeah, this felt like a gothic Christmas carol. So he is a writer in the snowy mountains, kind of staying in a chalet to try and kind of kick his writer's block in the arse. And he, for some reason, it's fine, people can have their own opinions, but he hates the book Frankenstein. And then he is first visited by Mary Shelley. And then there is a visitation from Victor. And then finally, he tries to escape, but he can't. He finally meets the monster. And it's just so, the kind of themes and the conversations that this book brings up about how, you know, fiction, where is it? Should have tagged it. So he has these conversations about creation and about how everyone has an innate sense to create inside themselves, and the underlying, and like it says, in some people the need to create is transmuted into the need to destroy. Underlying both is the need to understand the world and to interact with it. We're born into confusion, and there are but two responses to it: creation and destruction. Which is just, you know, some of these lines are just absolutely yes, absolutely. Some people do feel like all they can do is destroy, or all they're put on this planet for is to create something that then, you know, I mean, look at Oppenheimer. And then there's people that, you know, struggle with poverty and could probably get themselves out that hole with a different career path, Vincent van Gogh. But no, he has this overwhelming need to create. He paints, no matter where his mental health is, he is creating. And it's just, what an idea. And also, like, fiction is not about life, it's about the troubles in life. That is why we read it, to understand, to grow, to know, to believe, to hope that all the troubles one faces in life can be overcome eventually. You know, it's just, it's a good book. I will give it 4 stars. If it wasn't as slow, it would have been more 5, but yeah. The next one, I was gonna pick up Strange Star, which is the middle grade, but I'm thinking of picking up one of the others. I'm not sure yet. Depends how I'm feeling, because I've got to do human chores now, put washing away and whatnot. I've also got to film my TBR for the Wicked Readathon. I might do that instead of putting my clothes away. Anyway, I'll leave you at that. Yeah. So you will have seen footage of the Frankenstein exhibition at Selfridge's, which I think is on until, I'm filming this on the 6th, so I think it's on until Sunday the 9th. I don't know. I've got my handy dandy notes from my Substack. Basically it was fantastic. It was absolute, boggled the mind, the thought and precision and artistry that went into putting on this experience alone was amazing. And for it to be free, absolutely crazy. The props, the artwork, the costumes, obviously, everything was just so well made and designed, and everything had a thought behind it. I mean, it is Del Toro, of course, but just to see everything in person was a dream and a delight. And can I just say that Selfridges themselves were so good, because I'm disabled, so I walk with a cane, and I asked for step-free access, and they were just so helpful and so like clear with their communications, and like they led me through the like step-free access bit with a guide, and it was just 10 out of 10 experience. It really was. Super creepy, super fantastic, loved it. Yeah, so all that's left is really the books. So I am filming this the day before. I think we're something like 10 or so hours away from Frankenstein being on Netflix. So tomorrow's the 7th. It is also my birthday. So yeah, just what a fantastic, what a time to be alive. So I'm going to talk about the books. I talked about Strange Star. Let me just, so I believe I've talked about Strange Star by Emma Carroll, which was really good, 4 stars, absolutely really interesting. Then I read Love, Sex and Frankenstein, but I'm going to talk about that last. I read these two, Mary or the Birth of Frankenstein by Anne Eekhout, and I read Poor Creatures by Mary Kidd. Both of these involve Mary's visits to Scotland in 1812, 1813, and both of these have different takes on it. So this one had a more kind of sinister undertone to it, and it was definitely more sapphic, and it kind of bounced back from point of view from when she is at the Villa Diodati in Geneva, but also bounces back to her time in Scotland. And it was really interesting. I will say that a little bit into it, it kind of felt a little bit dreamlike, and I wasn't sure what I was reading. And it kind of brought me out of it a little bit, which, you know, in Gothic fantasy, sometimes you do kind of question what's real and what isn't. So there was this one, which is good. One I preferred out of the two was Poor Creatures. This one had a more point of view from other people in Mary's story, like Harriet, Percy Shelley's first wife, Isabel. There was even her stepmother, Mary Jane Godwin. And the Star opened with Margaret Nicholson. Was it Nicholson? Yeah, Margaret Nicholson, a subject of Percy Shelley's poetry later on in life. But it opened with her because she is the woman that tried to kill King George when he visited Scotland. And I don't know exactly, it's such a loose thread. Like, I was interested in her story and I would love to read about her, but then she was never mentioned again until like quite close to the end, and it's seemed to me to be a strange inclusion. But this felt more real in a way than this. But then this was more gritty than this. So I'm not sure. And it also kind of paints Mary in a little bit of a more selfish light, because I know we all kind of hold a candle to her, and, you know, she was an amazing writer. That doesn't mean she was a great person. And, you know, I do feel sorry for Harriet Shelley and Fanny Imlay as well, who kind of feels a bit pushed to the side. But yeah, those were those two. Both of them 4 stars, but for equally different things. And then the book that was... I mean, I can't stop thinking about this book. This book was so good. This book was gritty. It was real. It was filled with feminine rage. This book has the capacity to be the best book I've read this year. Like, I'm not kidding when I tell you that I'm gonna, because I see it so clearly in my mind, I'm gonna attempt to write a screenplay, 2-hour-ish movie for this book. I mean, just for myself, just for funsies, because I can see it so clearly in my brain. And I know who I want to play. I mean, I know he's a little bit old, but I think Henry Cavill for Lord Byron, or even Jonathan Bailey. I don't know who for Percy Shelley. It needs to be some kind of beautiful waif like. Ooh, Timothée Chalamet. Done. Anyway, this. I'm now going to read everything Caroline Lee has ever written. Leah? I'm not sure, but everything this woman has written, I'm going to pick up. Also, bonus kind of shout out to the Minalima Frankenstein edition. There isn't as many pop-ups and whatnots. I expected, I don't know, something more, but that's just me wanting the world. But it is absolutely stunning inside. I mean, the map of Europe alone. I mean, look at these details of the map of Europe and everywhere they end up going. Absolutely crazy. And the wedding invite to Victor and Elizabeth's wedding is beautiful. I mean, the illustration, there's illustrations throughout, and everything is just like every page has something beautiful on it. So, I mean, it's definitely worth the money. It's absolutely fantastic. And to add this to my collection, I've been so excited for this for years. 4 years. I mean, ever since it was announced, however long ago that was, I have been foaming at the mouth for this. I truly have. I mean, absolutely stunning. And the pages aren't white, they're a kind of like grey, like a parchment grey. I mean, oh my god, this is my favourite kind of little interactive part. This is Victor Frankenstein's part of his journal. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it all in one clip, but it opens out into like a whole human body. Absolutely crazy. And then it folds up into this little thing. So crazy. But yeah, I'm so excited for this to be on my shelf. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of want this tattooed on me now. Thinking about it. Anyway, so that is it. That's my wrap up. That's my that was me chilling with Mary Shelley and her creation, and Del Toro's creation, his lovingly adapted. Oh, I think Mary Shelley would be happy with his adaptation. I truly do. I mean, he's done some changes. Like I said, there are changes, but theatrically, it works. Wasn't sure about Jacob Elordi for the creature, but he brings a sensitive side to him that I think a lot of people miss when reading the book, and certainly when adapting it for stage or film. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it when you finally get to see it, and when you have seen it, please let me know your thoughts and feelings. I really want to know. And yeah, thank you for joining me on this crazy Frankenstein fall that I've been having. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.